Okay, so welcome to tonight's Yin Yoga for the whole body. As we're recording this and practicing live together, it is early August. So this is an interesting time of year. And I was like, what do we need? What is needed now? And I was like, my whole body could use a little love. So I hope that this resonates. And I will share a couple of acupuncture points right at the start that are potentially good any time of year, but I've been using them more lately because of the moist heat that is this time of year. So I'll head onto my mat. I will warn you, I do have two puppies around, but they're quiet at the moment. So we're just gonna hope it stays that way. All right. As far as props go, you might find a blanket useful. I like to pad my knees with one. You may find a cushion useful if you have one nearby. Not necessary, but might just be nice. And I do have a block. I don't really have special plans with it, but sometimes it's nice just to, in addition to a cushion or instead of a cushion, if you have that, that might be helpful instead. I'm starting kneeling, but you can start however you'd like. I recommend eyes open to begin. Look around your space, even if it's familiar to you. And turn and twist a look behind you. Might feel good. And you're visually confirming to your nervous system a sense of safety. There's nothing behind you you need to run away from right now. And so maybe as you settle in, you can breathe with a bit more ease. And anytime you feel a spontaneous desire to sigh with an open mouth, please feel free. It's when we do it spontaneously that it can be really helpful to calm the nervous system, help us settle into whatever we're turning towards. And now that you've checked in with your external surroundings, maybe take a little internal check, internal weather report if you'd like. And I like to bring my hands to the body to help me touch in, help me connect. So if that resonates with you, I invite you to do something similar. And welcome everything that's emerging for you. Thoughts, emotions, memories from your day, plans for whatever's next. And welcome the natural rhythm of your breath. And sometimes if you're transitioning from a different activity, it takes a little time for the breath to shift. And so without judgment, simply enjoy this rhythm that is part of you. And if there is a yin way to breathe, it would be to seek pleasure in your breath. That maybe over time, especially after settling in for a few moments, maybe your breath feels easeful, enjoyable, sweet, perhaps slower. And there's no need to control or manipulate the breath. But once in a while, you might tune in and notice, is it pleasurable? What's happening? And what does tuning into the breath add to your experience? And if, even after just these few moments of being with yourself in this loving, tender way, you feel just like a smidgen more relaxed or less stressed or more at home in yourself, whatever words you want to use, then maybe this very simple practice is something you can use anytime. Hmm. Feel free to linger as long as you'd like. If you're ready for something different, something new, I'll share a few acupuncture points to self massage if it's interesting to you. I've got two for you tonight. The first is on the hand, the second one is on the lower leg. So I'll come a little closer to the camera here. And this one is heart 8. You don't have to remember these things, but if there's a theme for the 2 points today that might be like a memory peg for you, think of like pinky finger. You'll see why in a moment. So this one is located on the heart meridian, which starts at the heart and comes down the karate chop side of your hand, ending at the pinky finger. So if you take your hand and make a fist, it can be tight, but it can also be loose. Make a fist and notice where your pinky finger presses into the palm. Right at that spot, take a finger from your other hand. You might even have like a crease there and poke around a little bit. There's some bones there. You don't want to be on the bone. So if you feel like you're on the knuckle, you're going to slide down a little bit. And this is heart 8. You can gently press or you can make some circles. I'm using my thumb to make some small circles here. And you found it also by maybe some tenderness that you feel. This point can really help balance any excess heat, which as we move towards the last part of the summer, the second half of summer, you might have some accumulation of heat, and that might be showing up as frustration, anxiety, restlessness, insomnia, vivid dreams. I'm just speaking for myself. This is great for when you feel agitation or any of those other things that I mentioned. It's cooling, it's a clearing point, and it can also help you feel more grounded. And I don't know about you, but already right away, I'm just a little bit less of those other words that I mentioned. And if you do go see an acupuncturist and you happen to have a needle in here, it's one of those that's like right away has an effect. Remember that the points exist on both sides, so feel free to explore. On the other hand, make a fist and then find out where your pinky finger, ooh, this one's a little ouchy on my other side. And by the way, we can all make up a story about like why one side hurts more than the other. Your acupuncturist could make up a story too. We will never really know. You don't want to hurt yourself, but you do want to stimulate the point gently for maybe a minute or so. And while you're doing so, it might be nice to tune into your breath again. And just seek pleasure in your breath. Notice if you're holding your breath because you're focused on the point. How you doing? Yeah, like that one? So pinky fingers, that's the theme. All right, we're going to continue that theme for the next one, which is one of my favorite points. It's called stomach 36. The stomach meridian is interesting. It's parameridian, the spleen Stomach and spleen are most active in what's called late summer. It's a fifth season that traditional Chinese medicine honors. And next month, I'll share a practice for specifically for that. But the stomach meridian, as you might imagine, has to do with digestion. And this point is great for any kind of bloating. You know, sometimes if we're eating a lot of raw things because they're just ripe in the garden and they're so delicious, or cold foods, which can happen more in the summertime, we might just have a little extra discomfort. Another reason for massaging this next point might be any kind of pain or discomfort in your legs. And it's a great point for longevity and endurance. Let me show you where it is. So if you go to your kneecap, and find the middle of your kneecap, either side or both, and then place your 4 fingers together just below that. So you'll come down to, like, there's the bony kneecap, and then there's another bone that kind of sticks out. You'll be somewhere pretty close to that. Now, where your pinky finger is sort of at the bottom of that next bone, right? You're going to slide the pinky finger out an inch or so to where there's no more bone, but maybe more of like a little bit softer tissue. There's another bone that sticks out to the side. You're not going to go that far. You're just going to slide over, and it's a natural divot in the landscape of your leg. So you might kind of feel like you're kind of falling into it naturally. And when you press on it or massage it, it might be a little bit tender. I like to call it a fun ouch. And you can massage or press and hold, or you could make a gentle fist and lightly pound that area. Now, this one has a great nickname. All the points have nicknames, but I'll always remember this one because it's called Leg 3 Mile. And that indicates that endurance that I was telling you about, that supposedly, if you stimulate this point when your legs are tired, you're able to walk another 3 miles afterwards. Wouldn't that be nice? All right. After that, maybe you just do a little sweep. Energetic sweep. All right. Was that interesting? All right. So remember, pinky fingers on the hand, and then near the pinky finger on your kneecap. Those are your 2 points that we covered today. Feel free to pop any questions in the chat or in the comments if you're watching the recording. You ready to get into some practice now? Okay. So we're going to start in a classic starting position for a Yin Yoga shape, a Yin Yoga class, which is child's pose. Now, before you move into child's pose, if you feel like, you know what, it's been a long day, I want to do this upside down, I'll show you that first. Upside down child's pose. You lie on your back, hold the backs of your legs, and let the knees flop to the side. We call it dead bug shape, right? Or upside down child. So this is a great alternative. If you want to be upright, maybe you pad your knees. Remember, there's lots of time. Lots of time to be, lots of time to move and shuffle and find the right tools to help you set up for comfort. So in general, the knees are going to be wide, the toes somewhere together near the back. They don't have to touch. Honor whatever capacity your knees have to bend. And then maybe you start with the elbows on the ground, or your forehead on top of the hands, or even grab a cushion. And sometimes it's nice to put a cushion on top of the calves so that your bum catches a little sooner than it would otherwise. So see what works for you, and you're worth all the shuffling and adjusting because we'll be here for a short while. So step 1 in any Yin Yoga experience is to create a shape. And once you've done that, step 2 is to rest in the shape. So start to see if you can scan your body for any holding or tension, tightness that might be unnecessary, especially in the target area of the inner legs. Can you start to undo the tension, the tightness, the holding, and release muscular effort? Now, step 3 is to be in the shape. And maybe you breathe in the shape or tune into your breath, even for a few seconds. And notice how gravity and time are having an effect on you and your experience. Feel free to linger a little longer if you'd like. Sometimes before I move out of a shape, I like to feel one more cycle of breath move through me. And then start to emerge slowly and with ease. Maybe you unfold your legs, stretch one of them out behind you. Uncurl the toe or curl the toes and gently massage the soles of your feet. So after holding a shape in a passive way, it can be really nice to move to be a little bit more young, maybe even something active like downward dog if it moves you. Trust your instincts and move in all the ways that feel helpful or good. How you doing? If you're exploring, continue to explore in your own ways. It's important to honor transitions, especially in Yin Yoga between shapes. But that's really one of the lessons that I take off the mat. It's like, there's no need to rush. There's plenty of time. So the next shape I'll invite you into also has an upside down variation. I'll show you that first in case you're interested in being closer to the ground. We'll do dragon pose, but when you do it upside down, we might call it half happy baby. So in general, you'll bend one leg, hold it with the hand. You could be in front of or behind, and the other leg will be extended. Some of you may have arms that are long enough to reach for the outer edge of the foot. It's not really necessary, but if that helps you feel like you're getting a something different than the child's pose that you were just in, then maybe that could be interesting for you. If you want to do it more right side up, it's essentially a low lunge. So start with your left foot in front. I highly recommend some padding for your right knee. And then there's lots of choices you can make here. You could have hands or elbows on your thigh. You could even set up to rest your head on your hands. Hands could be down on the floor or on blocks. You could go wide and bring the hands inside. And some of you, especially if you have blocks, may decide you want to put an elbow or two a little closer to the ground. And you could be much higher up. more upright dragon. So wiggle around and find out what feels good for you right now. What's a shape that you feel like you can relax into? I hear the zone of our target area, if you will, our zone that we're targeting is not just the inner thigh of the front leg, but maybe the top of the right side as well. And this top of the thigh is right where the stomach meridian passes through. It's one of the only meridians that passes through muscle tissue, which is really interesting. So once you create the shape, start to undo muscular effort and enjoy being in the shape for a few minutes. This pose might be a great place to talk about, well, how much sensation do you really want to feel in a yin yoga posture? And it's pretty low compared to, say, a more active or young class. So you might feel some stretchy feelings in certain areas, some sensation there. And you want to keep it low enough that you can still breathe in that pleasurable, easeful way. So if you start to feel too much sensation and you're starting to feel the muscles grip, the effort coming back in, and the breath may be a little tight, that might be an indication to back off or change the shape in some way. Maybe the jaw or the shoulders or some other part of you that's holding tension that doesn't need to. You might linger a little bit longer, but if you're starting to feel like, okay, I've had enough, or some agitation is starting to kick in, then maybe back out. It might feel nice to straighten out your front leg after being bent, a little counter stretch. And then when you reunite your legs, you might have some other movements that help you transition out of that shape. Perhaps a little cat and cow for the spine. Anything that feels good or helpful or interesting, especially if there's some leftover tenderness in any of the target areas. See if there's a movement or a shake, even that can help release any of that leftover tenderness. There's still lots of time. And if some of you are ready to do dragon on the other side, I invite you to step your other foot forward. Remember, you have lots of choices here. The dragon doesn't have to look the same on both sides, right? You are built slightly differently on both sides. So play around, see where it feels like you can set up your shape in order to rest in it. This is where I'm going to grab a block just for one hand. You could absolutely use two blocks if you have them. And then relax all over again. Isn't that another metaphor that we can take off the mat? Life is but a series of action and rest, tension and relaxation happening over and over and over again. Sometimes, if you let your head hang for a while, it might want some slight movement. Continue to be sweet with yourself. And you never have to wait for me to guide you out of a shape. So if you're feeling ready, trust your instincts, begin your transition out. Otherwise, savor a few more moments. Savor the pull of gravity drawing you towards the earth in the loving way that it does. And yawning is absolutely encouraged. What a great indication that energy is moving, getting unstuck. When you're ready to move out, do so sweetly. Maybe a little counter stretch first, straightening out the front leg. And sometimes it's enough to just not be in the shape that you were just in. You don't have to move or make it too exciting unless that's what your instincts are guiding you to. Perhaps you have a moment. That's what I call it with my dog, my puppy dog. Do you need a moment? Let's have a moment. Let's have a moment together to simply be. And then other helpful movements, maybe a little rock back and forth, maybe a little downward dog. You explore in your own ways. How are you doing? Okay. There's still lots of time. If you're ready for something different, I invite you to come down onto the belly. If you have a light layer of blanket underneath you, it might be okay. But if it's anywhere that bothers you, you can always move it to the side. We'll prepare for Sphinx pose. So generally speaking, Sphinx is a pose where you prop yourself up on your elbows. And because we're doing this passively instead of actively, in another class or scenario, you might be actively pulling and holding yourself up here. You want to actually relax the muscles of the lower back and legs. You're welcome to let the chin hang and come down into the shoulders, or you can stay more upright, even as you relax into the shape. Some people like to do a TV watching mudra and hold up the head or give a little Reiki love to the face. And if you're starting to wiggle around and figure this one out and you feel like it's hard to relax the lower back muscles, maybe because there's a little too much sensation for you there today, change the shape. Maybe walk your elbows forward a bit. And if you end up all the way down onto your head, that's okay too. You're still technically in a passive back bend, which is why sometimes people will poo-poo sleeping on your belly, right? Because you're in this position all night long. Some people prefer seal pose, which is to straighten the arms and have the palms connected to the ground. You can walk the hands out wide or forward and play around there. Find a spot where you can be for even just a minute. And if you're like, how long is a minute? If your breath is moving fairly easily, you're in that pleasure breath, it might be 5 or 6 rounds of breath. Remember that if sensation spikes for you and this is no longer a place you feel like you can rest in, please change the shape, come out of it. Otherwise, perhaps savor a few more breaths, a few more moments. And when you've had enough fun, slowly make your way down onto your belly. Again, it's enough to simply be. But if you want to move your feet, maybe circle them around in the air behind you or wiggle your bum. You might also feel like coming up off the ground and doing a little cat pose, rounding your back sometimes feels good after holding a passive arch. And honor whatever time you need to continue your transition before you set up this next shape. So I thought today something a little bit different. You might call it a twisted sphinx. Let's start there. So to get into it, I recommend sitting maybe perpendicular to your mat. So like you're gonna head this way with your hands, but if you're sitting straight out, your left leg is gonna stay straight out. You're gonna lean to your left and kick your right leg out. So you're making an L shape more or less. And it's totally up to you what size L you have, right? This angle does not have to be 90 degrees, but you might just see what feels good and it's okay if it changes. And then reach over to the left with both hands and see if you can come down onto your elbows. It might be that one makes it down comfortably, the other one less so. If you want a cushion for one side, notice if that's helpful. And your legs don't have to stay straight, right? If they naturally bend a little bit, that's totally fine. You can also play with keeping them straight. And we won't be here for as long. But notice and see if you can release some of the muscular effort. Here, our target area is in the trunk. So you might be feeling some feelings here as you're twisting, maybe also in the outer hip of the left leg or the lower back or somewhere else. And so especially in those target areas, can you scan for holding and ask yourself, is it safe to let go, even just for a moment? Maybe your belly feels tight. Is it possible to breathe with pleasure? And I'm personally feeling ready to come out. Maybe you are too. Feel free to linger. If not, walk yourself back around and then perhaps bring the legs together or swish them a bit from side to side. See what movements will feel good after the twisted sphinx on that side. Perhaps a gentle fold over the legs, maybe even an active upward plank, lifting the bum. How you doing? It's a little different, that one, huh? So if you're ready to explore the other side, again, I would start with your legs perpendicular to your mat or your space, and then kick the left leg way back so you're in an L shape, and then start to turn to your right to bring your hands or maybe an elbow or both elbows towards the floor. Again, they don't have to be completely on the ground, and maybe a block or a pillow or something can add comfort to this moment. Legs can be straight or a little bent. And then relax all over again. And if you're spontaneously sighing through open mouth, sometimes that can help release. And maybe you stay for another few more cycles of breath, a few more moments. Trust your instincts. And whenever you feel complete, help yourself out of the shape, unwind or swing around, or maybe do a little yogi tantrum, kick the legs to release. Continue moving in any ways that feel helpful, especially if there's some leftover tenderness. Getting up to close the door here. And perhaps after the things that we've done, some kind of forward fold might feel good. There's lots of choices here. You could have your legs straight out. We call it caterpillar. Feel free to sit up on a little height if that feels helpful. You might do dragonfly with your legs out wide, my personal favorite. And then walk your hands or even your elbows forward. Or you might bring the soles of the feet together and the knees wide for butterfly. And if there's something else that's calling to you, please continue exploring in your own ways. Once you set up your shape, see if you can relax into it. You might snuggle with some kind of blanket or pillow or cushion or bolster. And it's okay to change your mind. And enjoy being in the shape. Is there any part of you that's almost pushing the ground away, resisting gravity? Is it possible for that part of you to embrace gravity? Ah, enjoy a few more moments here. And as you feel ready, emerge from your fold. You might bring the legs together if you have them wide apart. You might even feel like leaning back slightly or get another yogi tantrum to release the legs. Mm. How you doing? Mm. So I have one more shape seated, and then we'll finish with a reclined twist and some relaxation. And for this, as always, you have lots of choice. I'm going to invite you into a half shoelace. So if you want to do the half shoelace, you'd extend your right leg out, bend your left knee, and then cross the foot over to the other side of the leg. So there might be some sensation or at least some space created on the outer thigh of the left side. And you can decide how snuggly you want to get with this leg, right? For those of you who want to do the full shoelace or feel like your body will let you do that, you lean off to the side and bend the other leg underneath you, which tends to create a lot more sensation. So if it's feeling like it's not so possible to relax in this shape, then maybe you undo and stick with the half shoelace. Now here's the new or different thing that I invite you to do while you're in the shape. So in general, you might fold over the legs. But what if you take, what if your puppy dog wants to get in? What if you take your same side of hand, your opposite hand of the leg that's on top? So really the hand that's closest to the foot that's crossed over. And see if you can interdigitize the fingers with your toes. Now, it might not work for all of them, but you might get a few. Oh, you figured out how to open the door. Hello. Wow. Hi, Luna. Welcome. Yes, thank you. So if you like the interdigitizing, and by like, I mean, maybe it doesn't feel totally, pleasurable, but you're definitely stimulating a lot of points here and a lot of the meridians because a lot of them end at the feet, right? So we're getting into all the toes, and Luna loves toes. So I think that's where she's going to hang out. So if that works for you, you can keep it. If it doesn't work for you, let it all go. And then perhaps enjoy a few moments folded over the legs, any amount. Hi, sweetie pie. Thank you. Luna knows how to sigh. Thank you for the inspiration. When you feel complete with this side, maybe start unfolding yourself, release the hand from your toes if it's still there, and then help your top leg off of the other one. Enjoy a moment to transition out of that shape. Whatever movements, stretches, or moments feel good. And then when you're ready to explore the other side, for half Julius, you keep your left leg out in front. And this time the right foot will cross over. Excuse me, little lady. Option again to interdigitize the fingers and the toes. If on this side your body will let you cross the other foot under, you could explore that and honor whatever differences are on this side. So it's okay that it looks different. If you'd like, fold any amount over the legs. Continue to seek pleasure in your breath. Belly softly expanding and releasing. Perhaps enjoy another cycle of breath. And when you're ready to emerge, release the hands from your toes or the fingers from your toes, unwind the legs, shake it out. Sometimes something active feels good here, like a upward table if you lean back on the hands, bend your knees, and lift your bum for a moment. We're going to head down onto the back anyway. So if you want to come down, oh, I'm sorry, Luna. I know, excuse me. If you want to head down to your back and do a bridge pose, that would be another thing that could feel nice after everything we've done. Feel free to pulse in your bridge or move in any of the other ways that feels helpful. Maybe you squeeze the knees in or rock a little side to side over the spine. And then there are lots of ways to do a reclined twist. If you have a favorite, go for it. My recommendation and Luna's recommendation is going to be to do something that's a little bit more twisty for the mid back. Since we were in the legs a lot, you could just let the knees fall to one side. But if you straighten out your left leg, for example, and pull the right knee over, and then reach your right arm out away. Luna, can you move to the side, please? Over here, sweetie. Thank you. Then you might get a little bit more into the trunk, up into the shoulder, perhaps, if you like, and your arm can reach away. You could also, if you have a bolster or a pillow, you could place it underneath the knee and actually rest it there. So explore and see what feels good. See if the shape that you're in allows you to let go of muscular effort. And then the dog barks and the thoughts come in. Life happens. Whenever you feel ready to explore the other side, help yourself easy over. If there's a squeeze you want in between, enjoy that. Maybe a full body stretch. And then set yourself up for your recline twist on the other side. Again, you could let the knees just fall to one side, or you could straighten out your right leg and draw the left leg across the body. Maybe there's a pillow over there waiting for it. Maybe you reach your left arm away for a moment. You can also keep it close. And relax all over again. Whenever you feel complete, unwind. Again, you might stretch yourself long or squeeze the knees in. Or maybe another active bridge pose. Oh, excuse me. A yogi tantrum or dead bug, maybe even happy baby, reaching for the feet. And when you're ready for your final relaxation pose, set yourself up. You might come into pentacle pose, which is arms overhead, but also relaxed. So you're not reaching, you're just like letting the arms go. You might also have them close. And if you're near a couch, excuse me, the train is going by tonight. If you're near a couch or a wall and you'd like to do legs up the couch or legs up the wall pose, that can be a really nice way to end your practice and also help release any remaining tension in the legs. Putting your legs upside or, yeah, lifting your legs in this way also gives your heart a bit of a break. So, whatever shape you're in, this is your another yin shape. Can you relax all over again? Maybe this time intentionally surrender to pure rest. If you have time and inclination to stay here for a little while, I encourage you to continue resting deeply. And if you need to transition into something else soon, maybe draw the knees in for a squeeze. Eventually roll off to one side and perhaps pause there for a moment. Hmm. What's the feeling now? What's the feeling now after spending this time with yourself in your body with your breath? And also together in the care of community. When you're ready, press into your hands and help yourself up to sit. You might look around again, notice what's changed on the outside, and perhaps take another weather report and what's changed on the inside. Mm. Thank you so much for practicing together means so much to share all this with you and with each other together. I wish you a wonderful, easeful evening, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.